بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الذين أنعمت عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome to today's Micah Nigeria session. My name is Mariam Otaiko and I'll be your host for today's event. So here at Micah Nigeria, our vision is to see Muslims return to the state of Islamic excellence. Some of the programs we deliver include, but are not limited to, feeding the soul, creating a safe space, economic development, leadership and competency, capacity building, encouraging positive social interaction, and promoting a passion for the deen. You can become a member of Micah Nigeria by completing a membership form. You can find out further information about that, which we will post in the chat box. We also urge you to please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is at Micah Nigeria Lagos. And like I said, for more information, please ask in the chat box and a member of the team will be more than happy to answer. As always, questions will be taken from the chat box, so please utilize it throughout the session. We reckon that this program will last for about 1 hour, but if anything, it will not last for more than 1 hour, 30 minutes. As you're aware, the theme for this month is career and business. Today, our topic is Rising to the Top, the journey of a trailblazer, and it will be delivered by Mrs. Bashirat Odunewu. We did promise you that we would have exceptional speakers. So Mrs. Bashirat Odunewu is a graduate of University of Manchester and Imperial College, University of London. She has over 27 years experience across audit accounting, institutional banking, corporate banking, commercial banking, investment banking, and treasury in various financial institutions. She has been the recipient of several merit awards in the organizations she has worked in recognition of her stellar performance. She is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and a member of the Chartered Institute Arbitrators UK. She has attended several executive programs in Harvard Business School and Columbia Business School, amongst others. Mrs. Odunewu currently works as an executive of First Bank Nigeria. She's married with children and she's passionate about mentoring young people. It's an absolute pleasure to have you today with us, Ma. Thank you for joining us. So let's get straight into it. Could you tell us a bit about your journey? How did you get to where you are now?
Okay. Salam alaikum. Thank you very much, Miriam. And that was quite well read out. I'm sure people will be wondering, like you read, I had chemistry, I'm an accountant, I work in a bank. So I think it's actually good to be able to say what caused all those movements. When I was in the university, I actually did think sciences was all I was going to do. And I did a BSc, like you said, and a master's as well immediately after. And at that time, I was in England, but my parents wanted me to at least come and do the NYSC and get it out of the way. So when I got to Nigeria, I worked with an oil servicing company, and they told me to be in the lab as an NYSC job. And whilst I was there, I noticed that the supervisor who had spent like 8 years there, she was a lady, was just doing titrations. And for those of you that do sciences, I mean, that is what you do in your first year. And even though she was my supervisor, she was still doing that. So I thought to myself, this is going to be so boring. What else can I do to be able to have a kind of an addition to myself whilst doing youth service? And I was told there was a vacancy in the accounts department. And I thought to myself, I actually hate accounting, but maybe this is an opportunity to learn about it, because I had tried it for an elective before at university. And I think after 3 classes, I just had to be like, I don't understand. What I think is a debit, they'll tell me it's a credit, and vice versa. So I just thought, okay, this is too difficult. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I was able to persuade the supervisor in the accounting department to allow me to do my youth service in his department. And he was very reluctant because he told me he wanted somebody who had studied accounting. And I just told him I'm a fast learner, he should give me a chance. And by the end of my youth service, all the projects that he wanted to be done, because they were working on quite a few things, I was able to work and get it done. And he couldn't believe it. So he just told me, look, I think you're going to make a very good accountant. Why don't you go for a chartered program? And I just thought, okay, why not? Because I actually found it interesting. And that was how I ended up in accounting. Then whilst I was in an audit firm, because I had to do several levels of exams, I was doing the audit of banks. And I also just thought to myself, wow, this is a lovely career. You know how it is in Nigeria. Bankers are a bit more glamorous than in England or the UK and the US, where you just see them most of the time in the teller position. And I thought to myself, this is actually interesting. I'd rather be the one doing the business than checking what other people have done. And that was what made me to go into banking. And I think that has been the greatest part of my career. I've enjoyed it. But one thing I should say is before I went to university, I thought I could be a lawyer because everybody told me you ask too many questions and that I'm so inquisitive. But then I found that the subjects to be a lawyer, like history, economics, English, I didn't really find them challenging like sciences. And that was why I did sciences. But it was always at the back of my mind. So I was able to do some kind of alternative dispute resolution. And somebody told me, wow, you're good at this. Have you ever thought about law or something along this line? And that was how I ended up also becoming a chartered arbitrator and mediator. So although I don't work with it now, but I believe that is my next phase. So that was a long journey. And thank you for the opportunity to share it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. You're basically like almost a jack of all trades, mashallah. You've done it all. I really look forward to this event even more. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, man. Yeah. So, okay, so could you give us 3 key lessons that you have learnt on your journey to the top? And we'd be grateful if you could include some anecdotes as well, just to take us for a journey, I guess.
All right. Okay, I think I like the way you put it, things I have learned on my journey. Somebody else would call it, what have been your challenges or what has been the obstacles? Because those are the things that actually make you learn. I mean, we all go to school and learn, but the life lessons, the career lessons is as you journey along the experiences. And I think the experiences are like good and some maybe could have been better. So for me, I think it's been quite a journey. And before then, I would like to give some examples. There are some people when they start their career, they might think, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. Or maybe they don't find it that interesting. I mean, just like I gave the example of when I was doing my NYSC, I could have even thought to myself, okay, maybe I'll not be going every day and just kind of loaf around, which we all know is a bit easy to do when you're doing your NYSC. You don't have to be over serious about what you're doing. But then I thought to myself, I don't actually enjoy what I thought I should be doing. Let me think of something else. So I think that was one of the experiences that came to me first, that when you are working, ask yourself questions. Am I enjoying what I'm doing? Why am I doing this thing? Is it because of the money or it's because I actually have an interest in it? And it's always important to do something that you think adds value to you, So, I mean, I now kept thinking, and that has helped me on the journey, because if I find myself in a department that I think this is not actually what I think I am the best at, I'll look around. I mean, I don't necessarily have to leave that job and go to another organization. You will think to yourself, like, for example, maybe you are in HR in a bank, just to use it as an example, and you now tell yourself, maybe HR is not really what I think I am as good as I would have wanted to be. So at that point, you should be bold enough to ask for to work in a different department. It's easier for you when you are in the same organization in a different department to be able to know what works for you. So for me, I always feel one journey that, people should take on is be prepared. and always be on the lookout to keep improving yourself. And if you are always prepared, like I'm sure you all hear it, that preparedness meets opportunity. If you are not prepared, that opportunity that everybody says is an opportunity, you will not even recognize it. You know, so for me, that is a major lesson, to always be on the lookout, to be prepared. And being prepared means you are constantly improving yourself. You are constantly trying to learn something, maybe not even related to the job you're doing. You might tell yourself, oh, can I be good at a language, just to see if it's an added skill? I mean, you really can't even imagine why you want to learn French or learn Spanish. I mean, Arabic is good because at least you'll be able to use it, especially as a Muslim. But it's like, think of other things apart from what you studied at the university that you want to kind of add to your repertoire. It doesn't have to all be academic. There are skills. I mean, sometimes some people know they're a little bit shy about public speaking. And I think all of us have that in us. So for those who are not naturally that way, you have to tell yourself, oh, why don't I just paying for it myself? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be your office. I'm going to go for some learning skills and how to be able to talk publicly. I mean, you may not even have an opportunity to do a presentation as at the time you say it, but the day they tell you do a presentation, you are not going to be feeling so scared, because at that time you've already started looking into how can I do this. So for me, one of the lessons I've learned along the line is be prepared, arm yourself, and keep learning, keep getting new skills, get computer skills. I mean, we all see where we are today. This is COVID era. I mean, you can imagine the way some people quickly jumped into being able to use Zoom, do a lot of online webinars, do online marketing. And those people who had those skills, they were able to adapt faster than the people who are now just learning it along the line and now just coming into the game late. So, I mean, that goes into that first lesson, and I think I've spoken around it. And maybe as an example, I remember when I was like a deputy manager, and there was a boss who was working in the next department to me. And I noticed that, I mean, maybe when I'm leaving, going home probably about 6 o'clock, the few days I have to wait and do something extra, he'll be there working till 8:30. And he'll always be like, oh, this is the way I work every day. And he was the supervisor for that department. And I was in another department and I had a supervisor. But I was like, wow, look at this guy. He's working so hard. But anytime they bring out the figures for his team, it wasn't always good. He wasn't doing well. So I was like, I mean, I just thought, wow, this is that I hope they will never send me to such a department. And I think along the line, the CEO called me and said, oh, by the way, you've done very well where you are. We think you can take on additional responsibilities and you are going to XYZ department, that they are going to fire that person. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the department that somebody that I see is working so hard and yet his figures. And why would you now take me, a deputy manager, to head a department that a senior manager was already working and didn't do well? So I was thinking, are they trying to tell me I need to go or something? Maybe it's a setup. But I took it and I thought to myself, well, Bashirat, you can do this. If they think you can do it, just try and, read up more, ask more questions, talk more, find out more about that particular work and how they get it done. And I mean, that was what I did. But luckily enough for me too, I'm always trying to improve myself. So I didn't find it that difficult. And one of the programs that I had attended was how to use your team, and I found out that that particular supervisor always wanted to do everything by himself because he thought that the team members were not good enough or they couldn't rise up to it. So of course, they were very happy not to have to do much and they left him to do whatever he wanted to be doing. So one of the first thing I did was, I mean, team play is important. And that is the second lesson, being a team player and also knowing that you cannot do it all. You are not perfect. Nobody has all the skills. You have to be willing to let other people help you and you also help others. And in that particular instance, it was incredible. I mean, within about 5-6 months, we actually were doing so much better than other departments. And that was the year that I got the CEO prize, because it was like, wow, this person took this job that was done by somebody 2 levels above her, and see the way everything turned, the same job. So for me, that dives into the second lesson of be a team player, and always have, don't, what you expect to be done to you is what you should do to others. It's a lesson that is all over in anything we do, but also when you work, because you find out that a lot of people that you work with, some of them, they are very, let me say, they don't have humility. I mean, they talk to their colleagues, they talk down on them, they talk in ways whereby even you are sure some of their colleagues, especially the junior ones, would not even be happy going to work, because it's like here they are going to be working with a toxic boss. So you have to also know that for yourself, you want to advance, you have to be able to bring the people along with you. Because if you're a leader and you don't have followers, I mean, like they say, that means you're not a leader. You're just somebody walking along the road. It's not like you're a follower. So the second thing is, make sure you're a team player and treat others as you want to be treated. And that would also help you, because you don't know when somebody is somewhere, they're talking about you. And it may even be like somebody who is more junior to you that will be able to say, no, this person is not like that. Or they'll even be talking about you in very good ways to other colleagues, and you don't know who is listening. So it's actually one of the valuable lessons. And I call it a valuable lesson because I think for other people who don't do like that, they come back and be like, oh, we wish it is something that we had been doing all along. I would say maybe another example that I feel was a lesson learned was, it's important to be yourself. You have to be authentic. You have to be known for who you are. I don't mean you must be rigid, because there are some people who will be like, if it's not my way, it's not going to work. And everything other people say, I'm not going to agree. But you have to be authentic, as in you look at other people's viewpoints, but if you don't agree with something, it's because you are being real, not because you want to be spiteful, or you want it to be that, oh, I'm the only person bringing out all the ideas. You have to be able to carry people along and let them know that, look, if she says this is the way things are, then they believe that is the way things are. So you have to be able to get the trust of the people who work with you, of your clients, of your colleagues. I mean, for my kind of job, when you have clients, if you tell them something and they later find out that it is actually the opposite, or you are just, let's just say playing them, it doesn't help you. It might help you once, twice, but in the long run, it will not help you. And one thing I keep saying is, people are watching you. Just as your clients are watching you, your bosses are watching you, those who work below you are watching you. And the way you behave, once it is consistent, that opinion is stronger. So they find it very easy to come to your defense. They find it very easy to kind of, when they are thinking of people they want to recommend, to be able to think about you, because they're like, okay, this is somebody who is sincere, who is authentic, who actually is ready to do things and is not like playing to the gallery, or let me say being political. Because you find that there are a lot of people in organizations who go around just trying to be pretending they're everybody's friend, or backbiting, or saying different things, and they don't actually face what they're supposed to do. And they think, oh, eye service will get them to where it is. They are the ones who will go to their boss in the morning and be like, oh, I have extra sandwiches. Would you like one? I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. Don't get me wrong. But, they just want to curry favor all the time without actually doing what needs to be done. So I think for me, it's important. And I would say it actually was interesting because I'm on a non-executive independent director in a company that is quoted on the stock exchange. And this nomination, I was surprised because I got a call, and it was somebody that had worked with me in the past. I mean, a client who was the chairperson of that company, and said, look, I've been observing the way you work with your colleagues, the way you've given us value. And I actually nominated your name to be an independent non-executive director in this company. And it was a total surprise. So just to use it as an example of, you never know who is watching you. So that authenticity and being sincere matters. And most importantly, I mean, this is like we're talking of Islamic awareness. It also reflects on your religion for you, because you will find out that maybe people have some preconceptions in their head. Some people will tell you like, wow, are you really a Muslim? You know, because they don't think you are, because you seem to be so genuine. And I will always be annoyed, like, what do you mean by that? Because they are like, oh, well, you know, some people are always very pretentious, but they want to always use religion. So for me, it is, you show your religion by your behavior. It's not so much about how you present yourself or what you tell people. Yes, that matters as well. But the most important thing is your behavior. Like, I think there's a Yoruba adage for people that speak Yoruba, like Iwa Lewa. You know, your behavior is what actually represents who you are. So for me, those particular lessons are like life lessons along the line. And I think that really made a lot of difference. So those are just three things. I think, let me just see, is there anything else that I wanted to put? Yeah, I think that was it. So, and always be willing to take up opportunities. And sometimes you might tell yourself, like the example I gave, like, wow, I don't think I'm ready for this, but always know that you are ready. Your instinct is important, and follow it more. And even if you are not ready, know you can become ready, because it's in your mind. If you know that somebody saw something in you telling you you can do this, then believe me, you can do it. You know, so that is some of the lessons that I'll use for now.
Thank you so much for that. So always be prepared, be a team player, and be true to yourself. It's important to be yourself. Thank you so much for sharing those three of us now. So what I think would be really interesting is, if you had to write a letter to your 25-year-old self, how would you summarize it to us? Give us a summary of a short letter to your 25-year-old self.
Oh, okay. So first of all, 25 years, I'm assuming that means I just finished university, roughly, maybe 1 or 2, 3 years after. So I've gone beyond the college part, because if I go back as far as college, I'll first of all say, make sure you attend all your lessons and be very vigilant when in class, you know, and try to get the best grade possible. Because I think for a lot of people, when you're in university, you are probably, first of all, so relieved that you are there and you're like, okay, all I want to do is come out without failing. But you can actually, looking back, tell yourself, I can do so much better than what I was doing then. So for me, if I just use that for the pre-university person, in case some people are 25 years old and still at university, unfortunately in Nigeria, people spend too long at school. But I think one of the first thing I'll tell myself as I'm writing is, Bashirat, you know, believe you have everything within you to be a leader and achieve whatever you set your mind out to achieve. So it's important. You have to believe in yourself totally. You have to be able to trust your instincts. You know, I'm telling myself, trust your instincts more. Maybe if I had decided that, look, being a lawyer is all the way I wanted it, who knows, I might have had a different type of career. I mean, I've had a good one, but it could have even been a better one. Who knows? But it's something I know has always been at the back of my mind. So to my younger self, I would say, trust your instincts more, you know, and because I know I will find out that it serves me well. It serves me well. The few times that I didn't follow my instincts, somehow it didn't quite work out the way I think things should have worked out. And I'll be like, why didn't you follow your instincts? So I'll tell my 25-year-old self, follow my instincts more. Another thing I would tell myself is, be less afraid of the future. I think for a lot of people, when they just finish university, maybe they don't have a job. I mean, they are even scared at what can happen. But, you know, it's actually important to feel less afraid. You know, it's very important to be positive minded, you know, and be thinking everything is actually quite possible. So I think I had a bit of some fears at that time, but thinking back now, I think there should have been less of those fears, because I know that, I mean, with experience, a lot of the fears were just like time wasters and things that maybe made it a bit longer to get to where I wanted to get, you know, and be less influenced by your environment. Because you find out that because when you look around and you think, oh, this is all the things that are going on, it's so easy for you to say, wow, I can't do this. So for me, it's important to be less afraid. And that goes into also saying, don't give up. I'll tell my younger self, don't give up on anything. Even if things don't appear to be going as planned at that time. I'll go back to that example of when I went it was in my second year, I was doing a chemistry, but elective. But then one of the electives was accounting. And like I mentioned, I did 3 classes. And I thought to myself, I can't understand this thing. And I didn't see it through. So who knows? Maybe if I saw it through and I did enjoy it, I might not have had to do a master's in sciences. I might have just started some accounting profession. I don't know. It could have been different. But one thing I know is don't give up. At least I should have done it to be able to know at that time what it was like. So one thing I'll tell my younger self for sure is don't give up, even if things don't appear to be going as planned. I mean, just believe you'll most likely get there. So I did get there anyway. And that means I always had an interest in it, but don't give up, and don't compare yourself to others in terms of when you get to your destination. I think for a lot of the younger self, we always look at, oh my goodness, my classmates just got this job. Oh, my classmate is getting married. Oh, my colleague, my classmates just got like a fantastic scholarship to do something in the US. I mean, there's so many things that at that age, the competition, you feel it more. So I would say be less competitive from that viewpoint of always comparing yourself to others. Face your own journey, believing with all the other things that I had told myself. You know, I mean, there's some things that sometimes is even up to marriage. You find out that some people end up in some problematic marriage because they are so much in a hurry, because they feel every other person they know has gotten married, you know. And I mean, I know those are the kind of things that people get a bit worried about. And maybe looking back, I mean, I think I didn't marry too fast, but I think I gave myself unnecessary pressure at that time. So for me, it's like, look, it's important you get the person that is for you, because it makes a huge difference. Because you look back and you see some people, because they were giving themselves that pressure, they ended up in wrong situations. So, I mean, that is something to tell a younger self. And I'll also say it's never too late to make changes in your life, you know. So even though you are younger and you tell yourself, this is where I want to go, it's good for you to be mindful that life can change. And I think for me, I look at it, and maybe I told myself that when I was young. So it's not like so much of an advice, but it was an advice I told myself, which is why I have had career kind of little changes, I would say, or trajectories, moving from one industry or from one type of thing to the other. And it's because I'm always looking at it that don't be afraid, and it is never too late. I mean, I'm sure you all know of people when they are 50, that they eventually say, I'm going to university. And they might have been battling that thought for a long time, you know? So I think when you are younger, bear it in mind more, that if I want to change things, I can change things. But on the other hand, one thing that I felt I should have done, which I'll tell my 25-year-old self, is to have a longer term plan. I mean, when you are younger, you know, the best you're thinking of is, I want to go and do a master's. You don't even, or maybe after master's, I want to start a job. You might not think in details about, where will I be 10 years from now? What would I like? What would I think should be happening in my life? And then even to be bold enough and think beyond that, it might be like, how can I even imagine where I will be in 15 years time? But you know what they say, it's what you put down, what you put in your thoughts that happens. Even if it doesn't happen, it is there as a guide. And of course, you can keep reassessing it, which is why from my earlier point of it is never too late to make changes. But for you to make a change, you need to be sure that you actually had a journey map. So for my 25-year-old self, I think I should have done a journey map of up to at least 50 years, even at that age. And those are the kind of things that makes you to start your investments earlier. I'm sure there are so many people here who hear about maybe some land is being sold for 100,000 naira. And they're like, this kind of very funny looking location, you know, but they have actually 100,000 naira at that time, but they would rather use that 100,000 naira to buy a TV, for example, than buy that land. But if they are planning, and part of their plan is by the age of XYZ, I want to have been a house owner, they might tell themselves, even if I don't live here, I might be able to sell it. So it's part of the fact that you have put it in your plan that will make you to take some decisions which you would otherwise have ignored. So I wish that was something that I thought about more. Alhamdulillah, one is grateful for where one is, but you look back and look at so many opportunities that because you didn't plan it that way. I mean, even when it's saving, so many things, when you have a plan, it's easier to follow. So for me, that is one thing I would have told my younger self, you know, and then keep reviewing those plans. Don't just write it and put it under maybe like something somewhere you don't go to more than once in 2 years. Keep it in view, check it, even if it's every 3 months, at most once a year. Have a plan and keep reviewing it, assess it, compare it to where you are, compare it to the environment at that time, compare it to your values, compare it to things that keep changing. And I mean, review, it helps. One thing I also feel that is important from when you are younger is, to myself, start maintaining your network. A lot of people think, oh, networking is when I start work, or when I'm older, I'm very busy now, or I already have my group of friends and they are enough. But you actually need to be more deliberate about the people that you want to be networking with. And apart from networking with them, keeping the contacts and keeping in touch. I'm sure for some of you, I don't know how long some of you have been out of university. If you look back, there are some people that you think to yourself, I wish I kept in touch, or I even have the person's contact number, because you might hear they're doing something, or they're at a place where you want to talk to them and find out, oh, how did you do this? Or maybe they're even in a country that you have something you want to find out. At least if, because you networked and you kind of keep in touch with the person, even if it's once a year, you send them a mail. Hi, Miriam, how are you doing? Hope things are going well. Remember when we were in college? Even if it is once a year, at least you are maintaining contact. So the day you need something, you won't kind of be thinking of somebody you have not spoken a word to in 10 years, but you know, you've now seen that person. That person is now like, it's somebody that you want to supply, who is in a company you want to supply something to. Of course, you can always go up and introduce yourself, but it's not the same as if you had been in touch with that person. So one thing I believe, which I've learned as you go along, which, I mean, I do it now, but it would have been better to have started earlier. So I want to encourage everyone, as I tell my younger self, I wish I had done more of those contacts and connections, because you never lose anything by having a bigger network. The bigger your network, the better it is for you. So always network from whenever, even if it's your colleagues, your mosque, like you're going, your neighbors. A lot of us, or a lot in those days, you might even have neighbors that all you do is you wave at them and you go. I mean, they might not be people you want to talk to, that is understandable. But if you think that person has something you might learn from, or you admire them, or you have nothing against them, create a little bit of a relationship and say hello, say how are you. you know, do those things, and so that even when you leave that house, 10 years later, so far as it is somebody that you are keeping in touch with, you never know. I mean, so many people have had, like, even their subordinate became a minister, you know, so you never know for whatever reason, and it's also just good. And I think even Islam says it, having brethren and having relationship and having, you know, people you can contact so far as you share values and you think they are not like, I mean, I'm not saying go to toxic people. I mean, there are some people that are better left alone, but people that you believe can add value, or you feel it's good for me to know this person, just out of goodness of your heart, try to keep relationships going. And then another thing I'll tell myself as at that time is have a mentor. You might tell yourself, oh, I'm actually just finishing university, or I just started work. I mean, I don't even know what this thing is about. Why do I need a mentor? What will my mentor be able to tell me when I myself am still finding my feet? But it actually helps because having a mentor is like a shortcut. You know, there are some mistakes you might make along the line that your mentor will be able to tell you, oh, I'm not sure this is a good path. I mean, you don't have to listen to everything your mentor says, but at the same time, you can at least know it's an opinion you may not even have thought about. Because like they say, you might have your own ideas, but experience is only garnered. You can't buy experience, you know, so it's good for you to bear it in mind that, for this kind of work I do for my industry, I would like to have a mentor that I can be relating with. And a lot of people don't even think of mentors till maybe they've worked 10 years and they're now thinking, oh, maybe I need a mentor. Or it's actually good to think of you needing a mentor from day one of your job. It might just be whoever that you admire in your organization. You start off somewhere, but have a mentor. And I think maybe not to, because I know there will be questions later. One thing I would also say to my younger self is it's important not to be over serious. You know, sometimes you find a lot of people as they leave university, as they start, they are so serious with themselves that they take everything so serious. Please, I'm not saying be a clown or take things in a very lackadaisical fashion without having focus. No, but you know, remember you're a human being. And I mean, don't be over hard on yourself. That is what I mean. Take time for humor. You know, take time, like you say, to smell the roses. It's not all about achievement. It's also about you having time for yourself, like they say. Just have time for your family more. Have time for other things that are not always about work or about things that you say, yes, this shows I'm a serious person. It's important, but from when you are young, it is important. Take time for yourself, for the things you enjoy, for what you'd like to do, because everybody prays for a good long life, you know, but at the same time, you don't want something happens and somebody will be like, oh, so what was it all about? You know, that person worked and worked and worked, didn't even take time to enjoy their life. And when I say enjoy, it doesn't mean you should do anything bad, but enjoy is in the sense of, you know, take time. If you are the type that you like, you know, just reading a lot of books, don't say I'm too busy to be reading books. If you enjoy reading those books, you know, create the time for it. If you enjoy visiting your friends, don't say, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have the time. But you realize that anytime you go visiting your friends, you actually feel happier for it. You know, so create that time. And don't always say it's about work, it's about, I have to do this, I have to do that. Do some of the things that make you laugh. You know, those are the kind of things that looking back, you enjoy yourself more. So it won't even be only when you are older. There are some people who tell themselves that until they retire, they cannot enjoy their life. And, you know, people should not be like that. It's important. And we should know that whatever happens, we're all on a journey. Nobody knows when that journey is going to end. Inshallah, we'll all have very long and happy journeys. But for a younger self, it's important to bear it in mind and make sure that every step of the journey is something that at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you are satisfied with yourself that, yes, I think I tried. I mean, I gave time for my relatives. I gave time for myself. I gave time for the things that matter to me, and it's not only about the work. And if you have a pretty balanced life, whether you like it or not, you are going to have also a good career, because it's all part of the reflection of it. And whatever you do, at least you'll be happy doing it. So, I mean, I know you are saying achievement and all those things, but I think it just comes as you plan for your life, you know. And the important thing is, once you are satisfied with where you want to be and you are reviewing it and you know where your plan is, you have your own journey, you are not forever comparing yourself to others, I think it will be good. So I think that's just what came to my mind for now. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Whilst you were giving us that summary, Brother Jabril Saba actually shared with us as well what he would say in his letter to his younger self. So he says firstly, he says he's really enjoying the session, very practical. And someone previously said that the advice you gave was priceless. So alhamdulillah. But Brother Jabril Saba says that in his letter to his younger self, he would add being very close to his parents and less judgmental of their views. Enjoy their company. Life comes at you really hard. Also important to take time out and maintain physical health and fitness. So I see some similarities there between what you've reminded us that we ought to take seriously, even in this journey, you know, to the top, inshallah. So unless you have anything else to add, Ma, like anything that you want to share with us, should I jump straight to the questions?
Yeah, you can jump to the questions. So maybe from the questions, if there are other things, I could do that along the line.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Start from the top. Right. How do you work towards achieving stakeholder balance and alignment as an executive in your workplace?
That is not actually as easy as, I don't think the person is also saying it's easy, because it's actually one of the most difficult parts of anybody's job. It's managing people. I mean, learning, reading up stuff, going for programs, that anybody can do. But you know, the managing of people is incredible, because I mean, there are so many diverse kind of, let me say, human beings that work in an organization. And I mean, just like when you're in college as well, you'll be wondering, where did all these people come from in this world, you know? So but I think the most important thing to bear in mind, like I said, is be sincere and be authentic. Because when you come from the position that, look, I want to be fair, it will show through. And that would actually make it easier for people to respect your views and be willing to kind of follow what you say. Because even whether the person is your boss or you are the boss, it's like when you are being authentic along the line, it's clear, you know, even your boss can tell you things that you can be like, you know, can I make a suggestion? And one thing that never that nobody can lose on, like I said, is always having some humility and treating people the way you want to be treated. If you know that you don't like people shouting at you, for example, which nobody should, then don't go screaming at your subordinates. You know, some people, because of their kind of maybe bad training, think that is the way to make themselves known and seen as a boss. And like you said, there's so many stakeholders. And I can tell you that if you don't manage your stakeholders well, they are the same people that are going to trip you up and make sure you fall flat on your face, whether they are senior to you or they are junior to you. So it's important that you kind of present yourself as a fair person and carry people along. And you also do that by getting feedback, because sometimes you might think, oh, yes, this way I'm going is perfect with everybody. But if you find ways for getting feedback, at least you can know that if the majority are saying, for example, some people might be like, oh, that person is so hard and ruthless. And the person can be, and somebody else might be like, no, you don't know that person. It's because you are probably lazy. I'm just using it as an example. Or if somebody comes to you and tells you you are hard and ruthless, you can ask the person, okay, what did I do that is hard and ruthless? And you might find out that they're telling you something like, you tell us to work very late. So if that is something you can work on, you can say, okay, but how else would you also want us to finish when we have some very tight assignments? And that person can be like, oh, can you give me permission to be coming in very early, 6 a.m., even if the office says don't come before 8, just as an example. So that is where dialogue matters. So for you to carry along your stakeholders, you have to be open, you have to dialogue, you have to ask for feedback and give feedback. And you don't wait until maybe the end of the year. If you have a staff that you think is not doing well, it's up to you to call that person and say, look, I'm observing this. Can you do this better so that at least, you shouldn't be waiting to say, I want to kind of jump on this person and crucify him. It's better you get the person to correct themselves. So, but then there are sadists, there are different types of people. But I would say those are the kind of things that are the best ways to manage your stakeholders and get them on your side, because you don't want your stakeholder to be on the opposite side to where you are. Trust me, it will not get you far, and it will be frustrating for everybody, and it is more likely a recipe for failure. So I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question, Brother Abdurrashid. So let me take a question from the chat box. So this is from Titilola. Thank you very much for the valuable wisdom. I really appreciate this opportunity of learning from your accomplishments and experience along your career journey. As a banking professional myself, it appears that promising professionals of the other faith seem to benefit more from mentorship, as they have advocates from seniors of other faith that help to rapidly promote and add value to their career. Please, how would you suggest we actively improve this within the Islamic faith and benefit from seasoned Muslim professionals in our fields? What should Muslim mentees do better to derive value and develop from their accomplished seniors?
So that's like an ABC question. Okay, so let me just be sure I got the question. First thing is, it appears like people of the other faith have more mentees. And the second one is, how can people of our own faith get more of mentees? Is that the summary of the question?
I think the person is saying that banking professionals from other faiths have more mentors, so they have more people that they can go to
Yes.
for mentorship, whereas within the Muslim community, she thinks perhaps we need more. And even in the event that you do have a mentor, how does one derive value from that mentor?
Okay, yeah, thank you. All right. Okay, so I think I would say you are right. And I think that maybe for us in Nigeria, because Nigeria somehow it's, I think I was talking to like a friend the other day, she's a Muslim as well. And we were like, look, if you are on a platform of, let's say, 30 professionals in our industry and at the same similar level, probably the Muslims are going to be like 5. So that gives you the ratio, 5/30. And I guess that is exactly what she's saying. Well, I would take it in 2 ways. I think, first of all, for Muslim, whether ladies, men, it's important, if it's something you want to do, focus on the career from the viewpoint of you want it to add value to yourself and your faith as from your personal perspective. Because first of all, for me, sometimes I struggle with being in banking, because you look at it and say, okay, you are in banking, we all know about riba. Is it affecting you as a person? You can say yes. There are very strict interpretations, and there are interpretations that are like not so strict, so you can, so there are so many ways to interpret this thing. So, but I'm even talking about any industry you find yourself, whether it's banking, engineering, whatever it is, and you find out that there are more people of the other faith. For me, as an individual, first of all, I look at myself from my own faith, but I look at every other person from their personality and their behavior. Because I don't want to say, because you told me you're a Muslim, it means you are going to be the best and you're going to add value to me. It doesn't always follow, unfortunately. There are a lot of people also in our religion who do so many things that you don't even want to be associated with. And meantime, from outward appearance, they will be looking to be the best. So I don't normally follow that. I look more at what is behind you. What are you about as a person? So when you want a mentor, yes, it's very good to have somebody of your faith. But if you see someone else whose behavior, the way they present themselves, and what you want to get is you want to get a professional opinion, I would not say because that person is not of my faith, they cannot be my mentor. We don't have to talk about religion in any way. So that doesn't come in. We're only talking about our job, about the profession, about how we can move. So when you have a mentor, it is not like they are your best friend in that way. It's a professional relationship. So I would say you don't have to only say it's the people of your religion that you must have as your mentor. But anyone you have as your mentor, be sure that their values align with yours, and they will not put you in a position whereby you would feel threatened with your faith, you know. So all those are important. I mean, you need to take it in mind, and when you are now looking at that, decide. So the other question you said is, what do you learn from a mentor? Because I would say, first of all, it is so good to have a mentor, because especially in your industry or in whatever you want to aspire towards, your mentor has been there at least longer than you. And you can also have a mentor within your organization and within your industry, or even outside your industry. You know, so there are different levels. I mean, the easiest way to start is to have a mentor within your organization, because first of all, that person is somebody that you know, who knows you and can agree. And it's always important to also ask somebody if your organization doesn't have a professional mentoring network, because quite a lot of organizations these days, they have professional ways whereby there are some guidelines of how to be a mentor, and guidelines on what to do if you're a mentee. So it's important. And if you don't have that, you should first of all go and read it up. What is a mentor supposed to do? And how do you benefit as a mentee? And what are the guidelines for a mentor-mentee relationship? But basically, a mentor is like helping you to avoid the pitfalls and things that you could easily make as mistakes. Or when you have some decisions you are not so clear about, maybe it's a bit cloudy in your mind, a mentor can give you an unbiased view without the kind of emotions and sentiments that you might feel. That mentor can tell you in basic way, like, look, this is actually something that would work better. Why don't you go with it this way? And a mentor is also good for guidance, you know, but I want to also explain that a mentor is different to a coach. A mentor can be your coach, but it doesn't have to be the person you run to every single minute for everything you need to know about your job. That one could be your supervisor or your colleague. Or your mentor is more for important decisions, or you want some advice. You can have structured time where you can say you are sitting with your mentor maybe once in a month or once in 3 months, and you'd already have some things you want to discuss, or you could be on Zoom, wherever, but you should actually be deliberate about a mentoring relationship, knowing that it's because you want to add value to yourself. And I think I should also add, there's another level of, which is not quite mentoring, that you call sponsorship. When you are working, it's also good, and that one is normally within your organization. It's not a matter of if the person is the same religion as you are or not, but let it be somebody who knows the job you do, values you. It could be a previous boss or your present boss who appreciates that, look, this person, if I am not, if that person, if they're at a meeting, or I'm at a meeting and they are not there, I can speak well on their behalf. And the only way you can get a good sponsor is for you to also be good at your work and be sincere in the way you do things. You know, put your hand up when opportunities present itself. And you might find out that in your organization, you can have 2 or 3 people who would always, more senior than you, that will always say, oh no, this person, please, we will recommend them. And that is what matters. You know, the opposite of sponsorship is when you have people talking against you. And I would advise, don't ever put yourself in that position. And the reason people talk against you is because some people are seen as overly self-centered, not willing to take up additional responsibilities, not willing to move out of their comfort zone, not willing to take up different things, and maybe overly kind of fixated in what they think is the only way through, you know. So it's important you also try, whilst the religion, you are holding it the best way to satisfy yourself, but you have to also know that you are not the only one. This is a country we're in, and you don't want people to have a misconception and form wrong opinions. So be yourself, be your authentic self, but don't appear like somebody who is overly kind of rigid in everything. Otherwise, then it's okay. People just do their work and they just do it, and they shouldn't complain. So I don't know. That's okay.
Thank you for that. I mean, if the person who asked the question wants further clarification on anything, please feel free to make further comments. We have a question here. How did you find working in a male-dominated industry?
Well, I'm sure that should be a lady asking that question. And I can tell you that, I mean, that is one of the things, especially when you think about our faith, where it is usually, I mean, when you go to the mosque, the women are separated from the men, you know.
Yes.
So, and when you go to gathering, the women are separated from the men. So it is something that may not come naturally a lot of the time to some of the ladies of our faith. And also it depends on your background, because if you've always attended female schools, I don't know if there's an all-female university, but I think most people went to mixed universities. Is there such? I don't know of any.
Maybe in like strictly Muslim countries, maybe, but I've not.
Okay. So I'm just saying, like, even if you did all that up till you got into university, of course, it's very easy to also keep to yourself and keep to your female friends, you know. But then the way it is when you go to the markets, you are seeing the men and women, they're trading beside each other. We all know Aisha, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's wife, she was a trader working with him, you know. So it's something that you do, but you just have to be aware of your boundaries from day one. So whilst you have male colleagues, let it be that it's not going to be like you are just going to have funny jokes that you don't appreciate being said. I mean, you don't have to appear like you appreciate those kind of jokes. And you also have to be clear on your boundaries so that, you know, you don't have to be like very aloof. Still be a human being, because the fact that somebody is a man does not mean he has only ulterior motives, towards you. If you present yourself professionally, I will tell you that 99% of the time you will be taken professionally. I mean, when I tell people that I've had a long career, it wouldn't mean that some people will not come and ask you something very annoying, but you let them know immediately that, please, I would not like you to repeat such again. And I mean, I don't like that, and don't say it again. You know, say it very firmly. You don't need to be abusive, and make it clear. And if it is repeated, you can let the person know, I would have to escalate this to somebody that you know they are responsible to, or that they wouldn't want to hear. So you have to be very, and I know one thing that makes some people to miss the road, if that is the word to use, is because they're always scared. Like, if people are trying to be very friendly with me and I do not kind of appear nice, then I might lose my job. And I can tell you that would never happen. So far as you are doing your work well and you are professional, it would never happen, ever. So when you are working with men, just take them as professional colleagues. I mean, as we talk today, we have our executive management, and it's something I complain about. I mean, out of the executive management in my office, there are 14, and I'm the only lady. And you can imagine when you are the only lady, a lot of the time in some meetings, I mean, we all know how men can crack some, let me put funny in quotes, or let's say unpalatable jokes. You know, so some of those things, you make it clear, like, sorry, please, gentlemen, there's a lady here. You have to stand your ground as your person. But at the same time, what you do is you concentrate more on the job. You concentrate more on the professionalism of it. And you have to also be as bold as a person that you can be. Being bold does not mean you are flaunting yourself. Bold means you should be confident of yourself and of your cerebral mind. Because you find out, and I tell that to even some of the ladies in my office, whether they are Christians, Muslims, you find out that ladies normally shrink back a lot. Maybe because it's shyness, or they feel I should be seen and not heard, and probably because of the things that women get told a lot in our culture, in our religion. So it's not to be outrightly there, but it's like if you have something to say, you need to be able to get your word out, because you are also having ideas in your head. And those are the things that would also make more women to get to the top, because sometimes, unfortunately, that is why we don't see so many women, because they don't present themselves out. When I asked, they was like, well, we haven't seen other women putting their hands up. We haven't seen other women speaking up at meetings. We haven't seen other women showing they can do this, you know, and there's actually absolutely nothing to it. Because if you're a woman, apart from within your office, even your customers, even if you're not in a bank and you are selling something, would you not sell to a man? Would you, you know, so you have to just be professional, maintain your dignity, maintain your integrity, but at the same time, don't be unreasonable. Don't assume that everybody is out to come after you for some other reason. And it's difficult, but I think it's in your mind from day one. You know, present yourself professionally, and people will not mess around and even ask you unnecessary things that you don't want to hear. And you also let them know to keep their distance. You know, you don't encourage any kind of unnecessary close relationship with the other parties, things like that. But it doesn't mean you can't be friends, you can't talk, you can't laugh. No, it doesn't mean that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question actually. A friend of mine is currently in a job that she really enjoys. However, she feels that if she moved companies, that she would get better pay. But I think my question for you is that what does one look at when trying to determine whether to leave their current job? So she's very happy in the company she is at the moment. Their values align with hers. She has opportunity for professional and self-development, but she just feels that she can get paid better elsewhere. Is that enough of a reason to leave such a company?
Well, I think first of all, it depends where she's going. She needs to find out a lot about that company and see if it has similar values to what she expects or what is in her own company. So not just the pay, because if you don't go looking into that and she ends up in a place where she's very unhappy, the pay will mean absolutely nothing, you know. So for me, I would say, first of all, if it's something that she also thinks will add value to her, apart from the pay, because where you are, she should look at it like, does she have good opportunity to even advance her career? Because she could move to somewhere else with better pay, but there's no opportunity to advance. It might be a very big organization that before she can get to some other level, she'll now be like a little fish in a big ocean. So there are so many variables, and that is where mentors come in, because a mentor in that industry can help work with her to analyze, because there are a lot of questions that needs to be asked so that she'll be able to say, okay, yes, I've made a good decision. I have had a time in my career that I looked at the place that I was working. I'm like, okay, this place doesn't seem to share my values anymore, because they had some new owners. Things were not the kind of place I wanted to be in. And I told myself, I'm not going to continue here. And the way I wanted to go was actually much lower pay. You know, so it was like I was taking a pay cut and a level cut. But I looked at the other place and I'm like, this place has more of the values I want. And I also believe I can get advanced and get back to where I am or even beyond. And I mean, everybody was thinking I was crazy. Like, how can you do that? But I mean, it was me, which is why I mentioned, have your values and be true to your values and your instincts, you know. And honestly, I believe I made the right decision. A year later, that was when some banks went under, this institution, that happened to it. I didn't even see that coming. I didn't even imagine it. And it's just your values and what you want matters more. So I think that is my own suggestion to her. Let her compare it. So if it has better pay and the same values, good, go for it. But she has to really, really, think it through with all the variables. She should do a chart and see which one is more in her favor.
Thank you so very much for that. We've got a question here. It's from the same sister who asked about the mentoring within the Muslim community. So, due to increasing drive for gender empowerment across industries, there seems to be more opportunities for females to grow to the top. How can a Muslim woman position herself and be visible for such opportunities in moderation whenever they arise while maintaining work-life balance? I would appreciate your practical experience on how you were able to maintain work-life balance and advance your personal development, academic career growth alongside fulfilling your roles on the home front as a Muslim woman.
Okay. So I would say, first of all, be a human being, first of all. Then be a Muslim. Then remember you're a woman, because it's like everything is rolled together, but at the same time, you don't have to compartmentalize yourself. You don't have to compartmentalize your life. Everything is one person. So it's important that you also stay true to your authenticity and your values. First of all, like your values as an individual, your values as a woman, and your values as a Muslim woman. They all are part of who you are. You need to, like I said, always think of how can I improve myself, however little you can. And sometimes these things are deliberate because sometimes some people don't actually want too much ambition. And like you said at the beginning, there are more opportunities coming up for women today because a lot of places are talking about more of empowerment, diversified organizations, diversity, have women 50-50. But one thing they also say is, we're not going to put the women who cannot deliver. So we won't say because we want a woman, somebody who cannot do that job will not give it to them just because they're a woman. So it's important you present yourself by your qualification, you present yourself by your level of skills, you present yourself by your mindset and your confidence. You need to be able to do that. Some people do not have that confidence, but it's something you can also tell yourself, I want to be trained about. Confidence is because you might even be limiting yourself back. I am not a noisy person, but I think I am very confident about myself. So if I believe this is something that is right, I am ready to talk about it anyway. That is it. Especially if it's something I believe in, and I will not allow anyone to compromise me because of that. So you have to be very strong in your values. It's important. And you need to also look at the fact that your family means a lot to you. So that work-life balance also matters about the organization you are in. Because if you're in an organization that is only thinking of work, 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 and doesn't give you time for your values to your family, maybe you need to have a change and look for somewhere that would allow you to be able to do that. And I think that is part of what the movement is about, where women are also saying we need more people being aware of being a woman is not the same as being a man, so that there can be some flexibility around that. So once you do your work as best as you can, you are fine. And another thing is, don't compromise, because we still have to be the women that look after the children, look after our husbands, our family, no matter how. The only thing you have to remember is, if you need help, get help. Sometimes women like to be superhuman beings. I mean, if you think getting a help of 20,000 naira a month is going to make your life easier, at least you don't have to be the one that will be cutting up all the tomato and pepper and everything. Somebody's helping you, but you can still cook, for example. I'm just using that. And you might think, how much is this going to be out of what I want? So you can decide to cut yourself off some other expenses, but do this one because the way it is going to help you, it will free you up to spend more time with your children, with your husband, and do other things. So you have to prioritize, and your priorities can change at different times. So it is important. Nobody is going to come and put that and say, but you have to, on your own, decide what are my priorities. And everybody's priority is different. As we talk today, somebody's priority might be that all I want to do is just be visiting my relatives because all my children are grown up. Some people have younger kids. So their priority is I have to spend time with my younger kids. I mean, for me, I also one of those people that thank God. I mean, I had my kids probably later, but Alhamdulillah, God's time is always very good. I have triplets. And when I had my kids, I was telling myself, I don't think it's possible to continue working. How am I going to cope? You know, so the first thing I did was, look, I need like a year off. And I think after like 6 months, I was telling myself, I'm not even sure I can go back to this job because this is so demanding. It's really very time. I mean, and I wanted to do the best for the children and everything. But then I think after 9 months, I found out that I was able to organize myself and things like that. And the office was also telling me, why not come back? And I'm like, the only reason that can make me come back is, first of all, you guys have to give me flexibility. I get to work when I know I've done what I need to do for the day before I leave home. You know, I've put everything in place. And if I need to leave early, so be it. But however, I will make sure I make it up in other ways that my job doesn't suffer. So, I mean, it was like, okay, I mean, that was an agreement. And I mean, that was like several years back, you know, and it's worked because I find out that if people are like, wow, your kids, they're so close to you. How do you do it? I mean, I ended up maybe sleeping 3 hours every night, all because I wanted to get home and still make sure that I did all I needed to do for my kids and everyone. So you have to prioritize. I mean, it won't be like that all the time, but I think it depends on you as an individual. What do you want? What you want is what matters. And once you've decided what you want, then you plan on how you are going to get it. And you also find places or organizations that you think I can achieve my objectives if I do it this way. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, firstly, for that answer. And thank you to the attendee for asking the question. I think it's a very important one. So I'm just going to ask one last question before we have to round up, unfortunately. During your presentation, you talked about having a sort of almost like a 25-year plan, because I'm 26 actually, and you were saying that at your 25, when you were 25 years old, you wish you had planned for like 25 years ahead. How does one do that? How do you even begin devising such a plan?
Oh, so are you saying you haven't been thinking about it?
I have. The thing is, everyone I speak to, mentors, people like yourself, they always say have a plan, but I don't know how to actually write one. And I think a lot of people my age struggle with that. Like, we don't even know what we want to have for breakfast. How do you actually write such a plan? Any tips you can give us, please?
Okay, I think one thing looking back is, first of all, you should ask yourself, go as far as you can. You know, like when you are like 50 or 55, where would you like to see yourself? Would you like to see yourself to have retired? Would you like to see yourself to still work? Which industry would you like to see yourself? Where would you like your life to be? Would you like to have raised all your kids? Would you know? So you write down all those things. I mean, and it might take you like maybe a month thinking about that part so much. And then you have to also look at the people you admire, the people whose lifestyles you like, the people you kind of would like to be like. So when you look at all those things, maybe that guides you into what you like. Do you understand? So you have to actually start from the end. And once you've done that, you've written, that means you have seen, at least to an extent, the goal of where you want to be. Then you now start walking back and like, okay, for me to get there, what do I need to do? So in how many years do I need to have done X? How many years do I need to have done Y? How long will it take me to do this? So if you start breaking it down, not in details, but in big chunks, you know what I mean? Yeah. So some people can be like, from the way I look at life, I don't want to be the CEO of anywhere. I want to be the CEO of myself. And CEO of myself means maybe discovering something or selling something, whatever it is, you know. So you can also have a plan of two types. You can say, okay, it's either A or B. So you have two things initially. Then you start working back. And as you are working back, it's like you already know the answer. So you are now working back to, how do I make this answer possible? And you find out that this thing, you really need to put your mind to it. I mean, Even if you are giving yourself 1 hour a week to think about it, have some quiet, have some deep thoughts, think about it, write it down. Then maybe in another week, go back and say, do I really want this, or is there something else? So it's you that has to do it. And which is why, like I said, I never thought of it that time, but I wish I did. And it's not that difficult. It might take you 3 months to do, but you have to be persistent about it until you get to the age you are today.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
I know I said that was going to be the last question, but I promise this will be the last one, I promise. Someone just asked, how did the supports from your husband assist your career growth?
Yeah, I would say my husband's support has been the most important, because when you have a spouse that doesn't support you, especially for women, you would probably not be able to go too far, because usually you have to have the same kind of ideas. And like I tell a lot of the younger people these days, especially for those that haven't married, first of all, which is why, going back to your plan, Miriam, have a plan. And then you have to also say, is this person that I am hoping to marry the kind of person that will support me on this plan? You need to know, because from that time, a lot of men already are mentioning what they expect and what they don't expect, unless you don't want to be sincere with each other. But most of the time, there are some men who are like, look, I do not want my wife to work. Yeah. And it is understandable. And there are women who also say, I do not want to work. So, bam, those two are going to be very perfect together. You understand? But when you have a man that says, I do not want my wife to work, and a woman that says, I want to work, it's going to be disaster. So you need to have those conversations from the beginning. But that is because you know where you are going. And your husband hopefully would also know where he's going and why he wants it. And there are some things that you can both discuss and be able to get to some compromise, because it's important you also plan with your spouse from the beginning. And you also want a spouse that is confident enough in himself that would not see your success, if they are matching his success, as something to kind of be envious about. Because I always say, if somebody really, appreciates and loves you, they would want you to also do well. So you have to also be sure that, if you know you are the type that has some, you know you are a strong person in your way. And I believe every woman is strong, but we are all different human beings. Some of us are more kind of deliberate in what we want. We know what we want. And we can't see why we shouldn't have what we want because we're a woman, once we're doing it the proper way. But then there are some that would also want to be overly well protected. They don't even want to step out of the house, and it's fine. So I think for people, look at yourself first. What do you want? And I always tell people to look at themselves, which is why I mentioned, don't compare yourself to the next person. What you want is what is going to make you happy. So do that. And you need to have a very supportive husband in even whatever you do, but let it be that you have both agreed on how you want to move ahead together. And hopefully both of you will not start changing and becoming like different human beings, because people do change. But I think if you take your time and you marry somebody with the same values as you, the likelihood of any major change is quite low. It's quite low. And I know a lot of people that have also dropped off by the wayside in their career because of this lack of support. It's like, and you as the woman, even if you have the agreement, you also have to do your part. You can't say because you are a career person, you don't care about how food is being put on the table at home. You don't care about how your children are being looked after. You don't follow up on what is going on in your children's life. Everybody knows that no matter how important the meeting, if my kids have maybe a career day at school or a teacher-parent meeting, or I just want to go, I would miss that meeting and go to their school that day, no matter how important, So you also have to have your own lines, and which is why I said, so far as you do your work, nobody's going to really complain, because they were like, look, she has to do this, but she does her work. So they're not going to start micromanaging you, even from when you are younger. They will not do that. So when you ask for your permission, they know that it's not an excuse to not come to work for the day. You will still do your work. You might make up some extra time, but you are spending the time for your family. If you know your work involves you having to travel for a week, you make arrangements, and like, what is going to be the food you have? You are sure that all the meals are ready, they are available. However you want to do it, you do it. Because I mean, I'm not a man, but those are the kind of things that also might make the men start feeling like they're being taken for granted, like their wife doesn't even care about them, just doing the work and doesn't care about their food and their own needs and all those things. So for a woman, you have to also be sure you do your part of the bargain so that at least you are fair, you know. So you have to really balance it, like you said. It's not that difficult, but I think it's more of the mindset.
Thank
Yes.
you, sincerely. Thank you so much for all the knowledge, you know, the personal experience you've imparted on us today. On behalf of MICA Nigeria, would like to say a big, big, big thank you for coming out here today and honoring the invite. And we hope that if we do call again next time, that you would grant us audience. And I think I'd just like to say that I appreciate your honesty about how you got to where you are. And I think often successful women don't really like to talk about the fact that you do have to think about your family and the home as well. You know, it's all about balance, like you said. It's not about one has to give. So thank you so much for your honesty. And we pray that Allah blesses you abundantly in this world and in the hereafter. We pray that He blesses you, your husband, your children. And I pray that all your hard work and your efforts will weigh heavily on the scales on the day of judgment for you. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you.
Highly rewarding session. MashaAllah, may Allah honor you. I mean, you have given us value for our time. Very impactful. Thank you for flying the Muslimah flag high. Yes, thank you so much for showing that, yes, you definitely can do it as a Muslim, as a woman, and as a mother. So thank you so very much.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, it's been a pleasure, you know, talking to all of you, and I'm quite happy there's some value, you know, gotten out of it. It's never like an easy journey, but I think you should all encourage yourselves more to not think, oh, I cannot do this. But at the same time, keep your religion in mind and let it be that people would even want to be a Muslim because of the way they see you behave, not because of what you say or because of how you are. I think that is the most important value. And for me, I think it's something I was always told as a younger child. My father, it was the most important lesson. Remember who you are. Remember your religion. So it's not only by outward appearances or by outward saying I am a Muslim. We need, even within our hearts, to be sure that at least we try to be found in the right place that we should be found, and saying the right things we should be found, saying I'm treating people in the right way that we should treat them. So Alhamdulillah, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
So bye for now then.
Assalamu alaikum. Until next time, inshallah.
All right, inshallah. Bye. God bless.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. So next weekend, inshallah, the theme continues. We'll be joined by Dr. M.K. Balogun, who will be talking to us about business ethics. So we look forward to hosting you then. But until then, assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.